Hey everybody, welcome back to the podcast. Danny here. Today I'm talking to you about Stravaganza, The Queen in the Iron Mask. Stravaganza, written and drawn by Akihito Tomi. Nothing recognizable from what I've seen anyways. And this is a monthly manga in the Harta magazine. Again, nothing too familiar on my end for manga. Ran in 2012 to 2018. 6 straight years. Again, this is monthly. With 44 chapters, 7 volumes in total. Now, I only read up to, I think, 34 or 35. Whatever the end of volume 6 was, because that's all that's translated at the moment. The English volumes are coming out, just volume 3 was the latest one. So it's going to be a while before we get that final volume, but do we need it? I'll get into that into a bit. But for now, let's go ahead and get into this. So Stravaganza involves mainly the city of Mitera with its Queen Vivian, who wears this iron helmet, thus hiding her true identity to her people, which is odd at first, but it explains itself into the story as she is tired of living in the castle day by day. So whenever she can escape, she does, but she leaves the helmet behind, using her real identity as the disguise and going by the name of Claria, I think it is. Mainly in the beginning, it's her going around and just seeing what the common folk are doing, trying to understand them more, because she's a very kind-hearted queen and wants to have the best city possible. That's pretty much the basic premise for the initial start of this manga here. More or less just her running around and just exploring this fantasy setting that we're in until we get into the, I guess, main plot, which involves, there's this poison that the animals have consumed, these creatures, and it makes them go berserk. You know, she wants to get to the bottom of this, so that's where we are. For the remainder of this series here, leading up to this giant final arc in volume 6, which in my opinion, it definitely feels like it could have ended here. For that to be one more volume, to me, just doesn't make sense. There's the basically epilogue in the last chapter for volume 6, and it feels perfect. You know, I mean, it does feel rushed for sure. That's the big one. Yeah, it feels fine. It's a huge time skip though between that chapter and the chapter before. So I'm curious to see what is going to go on. And my main problem that we're going to get into with this manga is the fact that it feels short. It feels like it's shortened itself, because there's definitely a lot of moments where I feel like they could have stretched it out to add just more, just either adventure or more room for new characters to really get fleshed out. And we just don't see that at all. Like, Vivian is a great character. She's, the focus point for majority of the series, wanting to explore this world, and we're seeing it in her eyes, I think is great. She's a very likable character and all that good stuff, and the art really complements that as well. But I should also mention that yes, this mangaka is not shy when it comes to the etchiness of this, as whether it's intentional or it's just a byproduct of what's going on. We have like the bath scenes, pretty standard for ecchi stuff, but then we also have action sequences to where clothes just get cut. It's just a byproduct of what's going on. So it's nothing truly special when it comes to the etchiness. It's mainly just 50-50. That's just one of those things. Going on from there, what we see in this manga is some interesting stuff for sure when it comes to the fantasy setting. Interesting concepts when it comes to mainly like the giants, a women race. They're more suited for combat, and then the male side of it, they're more just laid back, relaxed. Even the creatures that we are encountered here, so there's like lizard men, and then of course there's the orcs, and then there's this main one that's a big problem, which is the Woompas. Moving forward with that, I just think, again, they really should have focused on lengthening this storyline, because once we're out of the curiosity of Vivian and focus more on this very standard storyline of a fantasy movie, it gets to be somewhat, I don't want to say boring, but just by the numbers. Very predictable is the big one. And that's just a shame to say, because there is some good stuff here. And there was even the chapter before the epilogue in volume 6 could set up some nice adventure stuff with these brand new characters, some familiar, And that just would have been the best choice, is just to go on this adventure. There's a point in the series to where Vivian has to leave her city to, get behind and see what is actually going on. Is this actually somebody setting up this poison on purpose? Is this a natural thing? I have to find out for myself. So she goes on this long stretch across this country before she even hits another town, and we actually get to interact with this town because it's with a different race, which is I think they were called Clorfs or whatever. It's these people who are very agile and have tails, right? And just the structure of their city was very interesting, and the way they fight's cool. Their designs were great. And my only thing is I wish we got more of that, right? Because this long stretch and we only get to one city, and then that's really when shit starts hitting the fan. It's just a missed opportunity, I think, overall. Like 44 chapters, if you would have doubled that, like 80-ish chapters, have this be like a 10-year run, 7-year run, would have really stood out more for me. The main thing it has going on for it is the art style and the action sequences for sure. They're sprinkled a little bit out in the beginnings, but when we get to the big battle and we actually see some characters show off their stuff, and then especially with Vivian, when she actually gets into the fight, it's really good stuff. Right here, this big arc, not going to really get too much into it, but it's very typical, right? Of course, we're fighting orcs, because who doesn't fight orcs? Out of left field, Queen Vivian decides, oh wait, hold on, I have this ideal that I want to implement right now in this war, but only my faction of the army is going to do this. When you see what's been going on in this battle, it just feels like it's a waste of time, because it's not going to happen. Negotiations or whatever is going to happen during this war. And then sure enough, we get to the moment where Vivian admits defeat and then just tosses it all aside. Her army also tosses it aside and just goes with what they originally were going to do anyways. It just felt typical for her character, because she's trying to be the best person that she can be, right? Not only for herself, but for her people. And it just feels very generic for her to have these ideals in the middle of a war, and then for her to toss it aside. It's like, what was the point of all that? You just made me waste time by reading this and by having it in this manga, which only has a limited number of chapters here. I am curious to see if this got canceled or not. I haven't really looked into this, but when I read these final chapters, definitely going to do a part 2, because again, I am curious to see how it ends, because the last chapter I read was a huge time skip and everything was fine. The conflict came and went uninterestingly, to say the least. We had 2 interesting antagonists, which we could have got more depth into, but we barely got any screen time with them. And then by the time they did what they were going to do, they're already gone. I do think this is an okay manga. There's some good ideas in here. It needs that bigger push to make it really stand out. Because again, there's moments where I like it. There's ideas that are cool, characters that are great, but we just need another lap. Need a few more chapters getting into there. More adventure for sure. Right? If we look at another fantasy themed manga that I read not this long ago, it would be Mary Grave. It's really focused on the characters, all about the adventure and what we could do with the world building, with the magic. And then here we have cool characters. We're trying to balance the setting and the writing evenly. I just don't think that's the best option when you're dealt with this type of hand. You have to pick one or the other. Either a very vast, interesting world we can explore, or more character-focused scenarios that we could really dive into. All in all, I'd say give like the first volume a shot. I do think, again, like the action and the art is really nice. Vivian as a main character is strong for the series. She really kind of holds it together, because her 2 sides, right? You have Vivian the Queen, whose actions are pretty great. Based on her other character, that side of her is the more fun side, adventurous, and she can also get serious during this side of her when she's not in the castle or whatever. But when she's the queen and giving out commands, understanding her role in this city, that's really great too. So she definitely is one of the strongest characters here. But I think, again, that's because we don't get a lot of time with the other characters to really have strong moments with. I mean, there's her assistant Ruba, who she's known since they were children. And she definitely has some good stuff in there too. The other royal guards are cool, but we just don't get a lot of time with them. There's even other characters that she knows. Olavi, I think is how you would say it. She is the princess of the giants, and she's a cool character. Her weapons are pretty unique. It had a lot of potential for me, but just seeing it, it's not really rushing it. It's just like, let's just not push hard enough into what we can really get into for this. And I'm also very curious to see if Akihito's other work is the same way. I'm definitely going to be checking out his other stuff because, again, the art is what really grabs me here as well. Like the first volume cover, very curious to see how this manga really ends, because honestly, at the end of volume 6, I thought it was over. It feels like it's over. That's all I really have to say today about Stravaganza, guys. Thanks for sticking around. Remember, you can always email us at unversedpodcast@gmail.com if you have any questions, comments, concerns. Follow us at Unversed Podcast anywhere you go on social media. Let you know when the latest episodes drop. And until next time, we'll catch you on the next episode.
Well, I take if the wind isn't afraid of me. Traveling on my way, the breeze keeps up the pace with me. But something's different with the world I face. You see, I noticed that the dark city vanished off the face of the planet and was strange to me. Memories have taken me of a past I've never seen, my mind spinning crazily. I move on, hoping sanity will stay with me. Whatever's facing me, my quest continues gracefully. On to a new beginning chapter, unfolding, my blade sharper than the teeth of raptors. I speak like happily ever after. End of story, really? The rest doesn't matter. This is the knight in shining armor of melody. Anything else in opposition not impressing me. The darkness can stick its schemes up his butt crack, and anything following his ways can find what's whack. I don't play games you'll find at the exit. Like a bad story's plot better carry a moral message. The sea just exciting like a missile. Sun's reflection off the surface looking like a million crystals. Not stressed, I feel like a rose, and I'm young, I suppose. All I have to do is grow. Time to continue on my quest. Tomorrow's not promised, but each day's blessed. Back on the quest, man, time to get it on. It's the protagonist here with the new song or adventure. Keep tracking that and stay tuned. What we got here's action packed. Back on the quest, man, time to get it on. It's the protagonist here.